My brothers and sisters in Christ, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers here. And I just want to share with you some very exciting news. This fall, I'm going back on pilgrimage. Father Thomas Reagan and I will be leading the Footsteps of Paul pilgrimage to Greece from October 20th through the 31st, with a special extension to Rome from October 31st to November 3rd. All the information, you go to my website, deaconharold.com, and click on the pilgrimage link, and you will get all the information for all the pilgrimages I have coming up. But for this one, we're going to be doing 13 days in Greece. I'm so excited to be traveling again after being sidelined for so long because of the COVID-19 pandemic. All the information is right here. You can see the pricing for the pilgrimage and what the pilgrimage includes. It's going to be a wonderful time, especially now, as we're walking through the Acts of the Apostles, to actually be in the places where Paul taught and walked and preached the gospel to those first Christians. And so I'm inviting you to join us again. The pilgrimage to Greece, all the information is right here. All you have to do is go to my website, deaconharold.com, and just click here on pilgrimages, and you can see my pilgrimage page right here with information about my personal invitation, inviting you to travel with me on pilgrimage, as well as an article of what it's like to travel with me on pilgrimage, some great photos, an interview with my pilgrimage coordinator, Ellen Holmes Steve LeBlanc, about the contemplative pilgrimage experience. And right here, you can see all the pilgrimages that I have coming up, including the one to Greece with Father Thomas Reagan. And all you got to do is just click on this button to sign up right here. I look forward to being back on pilgrimage with you, and I hope you're able to join us. Until then, please be assured of my prayers, my friends. Take care, and may God bless you always.
Welcome to Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar, where Deacon Harold and guests explore our Catholic faith through passionate discussion. Get ready as Deacon Harold and his diverse guests bring an array of knowledge and life to Catholic teaching. You are watching Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar.
Hello, and welcome to Walk by Faith Wednesday webinars with your host, yours truly, Deacon Harold. So glad to be with you today, and happy Easter to everyone. He is risen. He is risen indeed. And it was so good to see people back in church for Easter. Literally, there were people there that I have not seen in about a year. And it was really exciting and really heartening, and really felt the Lord's presence. So that was a sure sign to me that we're finally, looks like we're on the other side of this COVID hurdle that we've been trying to jump over for the past year. And I know for me, one of the things I'm very much looking forward to very soon is going back on pilgrimage. I actually miss traveling on pilgrimage. I had some amazing experiences. I've been so blessed to be able to travel to the Holy Land 3 times now, as well as to Fatima and to Lourdes and to Rome. And what a great blessing those trips have been. And when I do travel on pilgrimage, the person I travel with, or the company I travel with, is Select International Tours. And I'm so thrilled today to have as my guest this week, Edita Krunic, who is the president and founder of Select International Tours. So I'd like to welcome you. Edita, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's so good to be with you, and especially today. So happy Easter to you, Deacon. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Resurrection Day. And everything is looking brighter. We had Easter yesterday. Today we are in New Jersey, looking at the bright sunshine, which we haven't had for a long time. And so it looks like we're starting also to come out of COVID. At least we're starting to see some bright light at the end of this very long, painful tunnel. especially when it comes to travel, international travel in particular, because all the pilgrimages that we organize are in international destinations, such as the ones you mentioned, Holy Land and the European destinations. We also, have pilgrimages to Mexico and Canada, but most of them are overseas. So we are starting to get some positive news, and we're very excited about that.
Well, Edita, before we dive in, why don't we just start there, since you brought it up? I know people are looking forward to going back on pilgrimage. I know that there's some pilgrimages, particularly to the Holy Land, that have already been sold out. So people are very excited. But I think there's a little bit of trepidation still regarding COVID and traveling internationally, because a number of countries are still not open to travelers yet, but yet we're still moving ahead and planning for pilgrimages. So I think some people might be nervous about that. Can you just speak to that a little bit so we can kind of get that out of the way? Because
Right.
I know that's kind of on the forefront of people's minds who are listening today.
It is absolutely, you're right. We are seeing an uptick in interest though, because in the last 4 to 6 weeks, we have had a steady stream of registrations, which is reminiscent to the same level of registrations we used to receive before first week of March last year, which is on average 40 to 60 registrations a week. So that's what we've been seeing in the last 4 to 6 weeks, which is very encouraging. And that also shows us that people are really eager to get back to traveling and get back to going on pilgrimage. Now, things are not back to normal yet. Israel, the Holy Land, is the first country that is expected to open up sometimes in the next 2 to 4 weeks. They're gearing up with entry requirements. Hotels are opening up, restaurants. Now, all the holy sites have been open. They opened up before Easter, but they really haven't received any pilgrimage groups. So we expect the first pilgrimage group to be arriving in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see how that goes. We did have a group scheduled to leave in April for Holy Land, and that has been postponed now to a fall departure, because we just felt that the destination wasn't ready. Our first group to Holy Land is in June, and everyone on that group is super, super excited to be traveling. And I'm pretty sure that group will be going out. Now, as far as Europe is concerned, we're not sure how things are going to open up. I think it'll be in stages. Um, Israel has decided to vaccinate most of its citizens, and they've been very successful with that. As of last week, about 90% of Israelis have taken the vaccine, and now they are also vaccinating the Palestinian population. As you know, in the Holy Land, we visit Israel, but we also go to Palestinian territory where Bethlehem is located. And most of the Christians there are Palestinian Christians, so we were very concerned about that, and their health, and so they are now receiving the vaccine, and it seems to be pretty steady and moving forward. I think they will be vaccinated in the next 2 to 4 weeks as well. In Europe, it's a different situation because the vaccination process has not gone smoothly for various reasons. There are many countries involved. Some of them are part of the European community, some are not. So they've had some setbacks, and they are expected to open up in May, June, and July in different stages. The first definitive information that we have received is from England, and they're opening up. Stage 1 is middle of May, stage 2 is middle of June, and then stage 3, meaning completely open, everything functioning and ready for international visitors, is not until middle of July. Okay. I'm pretty certain that that pattern we're going to see in other countries such as Italy and Spain, Portugal, and so on. But we do expect by end of July, the entire Europe will be open and we will be able to take groups there. Our first groups are scheduled to leave in September, and I'm pretty optimistic about the ability of people to travel to Europe and all the international destinations by September.
All right, that's very good news. Now we know as far as coming back to the United States, they're requiring a negative COVID test Do you know what the entry requirements are going to be? Do you just have to have a negative COVID test within a certain amount of time of arrival, or do you have to have a shot? Do we have any idea of what that looks like for the other countries?
Well, a lot of information is uh, being circulated online, on social media, on the internet. And I just have to caution everyone to be very diligent about researching the information that they are getting, because a lot of the information is false. For instance, last week we received an email from one of our clients, a group leader, saying, I understand there's going to be a mandatory vaccination passport. And as you know, some people are ready to get vaccinated and many people are not for various reasons. And I said to her, as of now, there is no vaccination passport required for entry to any country. And we don't believe now, we can't predict. There's no, I don't have, the ability to predict what will happen. But just from being in touch with tourist offices, which represent the government of various countries, and service providers overseas, we don't see vaccinations being mandatory or the vaccination passport being something that countries require. If there is some type of vaccination passport, it's not going to be because people are required to be vaccinated to enter a country. It will be more about ease of movement. Okay? So if you're vaccinated, you have Israel already has that. It's called the green pass. So you have a green pass that just has a stamp and it shows that you've been vaccinated, and it doesn't mean you can't travel if you have not been vaccinated. It only means that you now have proof of vaccination. It's just easier to move. Now, even if you are vaccinated, you still have to have a PCR test because, as you know, you can still be a carrier. So, this whole concept of vaccination being mandatory for international travel is false. So again, I just want to caution everybody that they should not really believe what they see on social media, and they should not believe what they, see on the internet. The best way to find out what is going on is to call a reputable company, call the airline, or if you're traveling on pilgrimage, call us. We have the latest information and we will let them know at least what we've heard or what we've seen in the last week or so. The information is changing very rapidly, so every week we get updates, but that is our job. That's what we do. We research, we receive our information from very reliable sources, plus then we do our own research. Okay? So the best way to find out if you have any concerns about anything traveling internationally is to call a reputable travel company or an airline.
That's excellent news, and so glad that we got that cleared up right in the beginning. So I know that's
Yes,
on the
yes.
forefront of people's minds, and maybe even maybe a deciding factor in whether they actually travel or not. So that's very very good to hear. So Edita, why don't you tell us how did you start? What was your interest in traveling and doing pilgrimages and starting Select International? What was the impetus, the idea, the desire behind that?
Well, I love travel. I always have loved travel. I started traveling internationally when I was 14 years old. And so I guess I have the travel bug. But when I finished college, I started working for an international airline as a sales manager. And at that time, there was a lot of information and a lot of buzz coming out of a little village in what is now Bosnia and Herzegovina, but at that time was the country of Yugoslavia, called Medjugorje. And I actually was born in that region. I was born in a city called Sarajevo, but my parents immigrated to this country when I was young. So was really paying attention to what was going on because that was my homeland. And I decided to go and visit this little village because at the airline, we were getting a lot of phone calls from pilgrims who wanted to go on a pilgrimage to this little village that was very remote in the mountains called Medjugorje. And Yugoslavia was a communist country, so they weren't really welcoming of pilgrims coming in and going to Medjugorje to pray and going on pilgrimage. And I thought, I really need to go and see this place for myself and figure out the logistics if we're going to, as an airline employee, if we're going to help pilgrims get there in a comfortable, safe way. So I was on vacation in the area. I rented a car. I drove into this little village in the mountains and had an incredible personal experience. There were not a lot of American pilgrims there. There were a lot of pilgrims from Italy and England and Ireland. Now, this was going back 35 years. It was 1986. So things were a bit different. We didn't have the internet and social media and mobile phones with us. So um, I just started walking around and talking to the pilgrims, and there was an incredible atmosphere of faith and hope that really shook me to the core. But what really convinced me that the Blessed Mother chose a path for me was that the day that I had gone there was Feast of the Assumption. Now, I did not plan to go to Medjugorje on the Feast of the Assumption. That was not my plan, but that's what happened. And on the way back, I went to Mass and I talked to a lot of people. And then I just sat for about an hour and I prayed. And on the way back to the place where I was vacationing, it just became very clear to me that there was no coincidence here. This was chosen for me. And I'm very devoted to the Blessed Mother. And I thought, she has a plan and I need to follow this plan, because it was one of those things that I knew for sure. I was 100% sure that I needed to do something with Medjugorje. So I came back home. I quit my job. I had no money at all. I was 27 years old. And I started Select International Tours, and we were the first American pilgrimage company to organize pilgrimages. I mean, Americans were going to Medjugorje on pilgrimage, but it was never in an organized way. It was kind of, they were finding their own way to get there, kind of winging it. And so we became the first American company to organize pilgrimages to Medjugorje. And in the second year that the company was founded, we had over 10,000 pilgrims. Now, that hasn't been repeated since then, but because at that point, a lot of companies saw an opportunity and started offering pilgrimages to Medjugorje. But for me, Medjugorje has always remained a very, very special place for both myself personally and my family, and also for Select International Tours. So that's the beginning of Select International Tours. That is how, we started, going back now 34 years.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's a great story. Now, Edita, tell us why are pilgrimages important? I think sometimes people confuse pilgrimage with like holy vacation. You know, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so how are pilgrimages different, and why are they important?
Well, you bring up an excellent point. It's very important to actually differentiate religious vacations or holy vacations, as you said, and pilgrimages. We do not offer religious vacations. There are companies out there who do. A lot of large companies, like Colette or Globus. If that's what you want, if you want to go on a religious vacation, and I'll explain what that means, you can certainly find companies who do that. Select International specializes in pilgrimages. So the difference is, when you are going on a religious vacation, you're vacationing and then you have a little bit of religion mixed in. So you'll visit some churches, maybe have Mass once or twice a week. You might be traveling with people who are not, people of faith, but are interested in church history and so on. So it is not, it's more of a vacation with a little bit of holy sites sprinkled in. That is not what we do. Right? What Select offers are pilgrimages where prayer is the focus of the trip. The spiritual aspect is really the center of the trip. So we go to the holy sites, we celebrate Mass in the most important shrines and churches. Mass is the center of the day. So we set up private mass for our groups every single day. We schedule time for prayer and contemplation. We have a spiritual director, a priest on every single trip. You cannot have a pilgrimage unless you have a priest on the trip. And because you have been on our pilgrimages, you know that, we're very much about the pilgrim and the pilgrimage sites, much more so than about, having time to relax and vacation. Now we do have, we try to have really good food included, and we stay in nice places, and we allocate time for a little bit of shopping, perhaps a cultural activity. That is all part of the trip. Because when people travel, for instance, to Italy, I mean, you cannot go to Italy without tasting some of their great food. Maybe we stop at a winery because that is what Italy is about. But that's not the primary focus of the trips that we do. The primary focus are the shrines, going to Assisi, the Basilica of St. Francis, and going to the Vatican, and, celebrating daily mass and learning about the lives of the saints, and, venerating the saints. That is what a pilgrimage is about, and that is what we do. So, and it's not for everyone. The beautiful thing is that people have choices, and some people want to have a little bit of religion in their trips. Right? And if that's what they want to do, there are companies out there who do that. But that is not what we do. We offer pilgrimages. We organize pilgrimages because the faith is at the heart of the trip.
Oh, that's awesome. And let's specifically talk about the Holy Land, for example. I know when I've gone to the Holy Land, it's more than just seeing the places where Jesus walked and talked and lived and did miracles and rose from the dead and all of that. They often call the Holy Land the fifth gospel.
Yes.
And I know for me, I had some powerful experiences. For example, in Capernaum, right, or Capernaum, as they pronounce it there, when sitting in the place that's the temple, the ruins of the temple that were the synagogue, that's built over the actual site where Jesus gave his the discourse in John chapter 6. I'm the living bread that came down from heaven, and right across the street from that is Peter's house, where he went and healed his mother-in-law. When you're there and you're hearing that gospel and you're sitting in the place, like where it happened, it does something to you. Or for me, as a clerk, I pray the Psalms every day. And as the bus was heading up to Jerusalem, I was thinking of the gradual Psalms, that they used to sing as they traveled, as they walked that path going up to Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Passover, unleavened bread, the Feast of Pentecost, Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths, and praying that psalm while we're ascending, and knowing that all these folks from the Old Testament and even from New Testament before me walked that road up to Jerusalem singing those same hymns. Just absolutely, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we always say that if a pilgrim is able to travel on one pilgrimage in their life, then it should be the Holy Land. And if it's the first pilgrimage that they're ever traveling on, it should be to the Holy Land. That every Christian should make a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. That is, for us Christians, as you mentioned, that is where it began. So when you're reading the scriptures, after you've been to Holy Land, to use that cliche that a lot of people are saying, the scriptures become alive. They absolutely do, because now you're referencing, when you're reading the scripture or listening to the homilies, I know what that means. I'm not just hearing it. I'm not just reading it. I lived it. I walked there. I prayed there. I sat on that stone. So it's very powerful. And I have been to Holy Land probably 27 times now. And I cannot wait to go back. So I'm expecting to go this summer. and I've been to Italy many, many times. I've been to Fatima and Lourdes, and of course Medjugorje, and Our Lady of Knock in Ireland. In also in Poland. I mean, I've been that. This is part of my life and part of my business. So I travel on pilgrimage a lot. But there is no place like Holy Land. Every place is special. Every place is different. But Holy Land is extraordinary. I have never been on that boat sailing the calm waters of the Sea of Galilee where I did not cry. And I'm sure you've had a similar experience. You'll just see a group of 40, 50 people just hugging and dancing and singing and crying, and what I say is everybody in Holy Land, everybody has a very special moment when they're just overcome with emotion. And I have to just share a story with you because this is going back about 5, 6 years ago. I was accompanying a large group. We had 4 buses, and I was very busy making sure all the logistics were taken care of and everybody was happy and all of that. And going to daily mass with the group, and just towards the end of the pilgrimage, actually the last day of the pilgrimage, we were celebrating mass in Ein Kerem. And as you know, that is the birthplace of St. John the Baptist. So we had 200 pilgrims. The church was full. I was standing in the back of the church, and just thought to myself during mass, oh, I didn't have my special moment when, usually I do, and you start crying and you just really shaken. And I said, that's okay. This is the first time that hasn't happened to me, but it's okay. I'm here for the pilgrims. This is not about me. This pilgrimage was about 200 pilgrims, and my job was to take care of them. I guess, I just wasn't focused on on prayer enough. And I was just thinking all these thoughts coming into my head, kind of thinking about this. And about 10 minutes later, I start crying, and but I couldn't stop. I was heaving literally. I just overcome, like the Holy Spirit just came, and I was totally, happy tears. I was sobbing. They were just tears of joy. And people in the church were turning around and saying, Edita, are you okay? What's going on? And I said, I'm so happy. You have no idea. These are, tears of just huge, huge emotions. And then I thought, you know what? I had my moment. Everybody on every pilgrimage has a moment, and it doesn't happen when you want it to happen, It is when the Lord wants it to happen. And I walked out of that church, and I felt I could fly. I was so uplifted. I felt so strong. I felt so renewed. I've never had that feeling anywhere else. And it has happened on every single pilgrimage that I have been on. But I have also I've been a witness to people experiencing the same type of emotion on pilgrimage to Holy Land in particular. And people always say, we can never replicate it. As long as you have this moment and then you come home, it's like, I want to have it again. No, that's not what it's about. It is really this connection that you have on a pilgrimage to Holy Land that is extraordinary and that cannot be replicated anywhere else.
Yeah, I know for me, my experience was in the tomb of Christ, having mass in there. And we had a small group, and you can't sit, you can't kneel, you have to stand the whole time. But then serving as deacon, because you have to bend down and go actually into the tomb where the altar is built over the place where Jesus actually rose from the dead. And to serve for me as a deacon in that space, knowing that was the place where Jesus rose from the dead. Because there are places where we think this is where this happened, we think where that happened, but there are some places where they know for sure this is where it occurred. Like the birth of Jesus, the birthplace of Jesus, we know for sure that's where it was, and
Yes.
its resurrection. And it was, I almost passed out. I was just like, I can't believe I'm actually here, and not just here, but serving as a deacon. in this place, I mean, my heart was just about to burst out of my chest, and I felt lightheaded, and it was not, it was
Yes,
joy. It was just like,
yes, it was
yes, I'm
exactly.
actually here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that with pilgrims, and pilgrims will just, they just need to be, hugged and say, hey, it's okay, it's okay. And because people are sometimes when it comes, it's so powerful, it's so strong. People don't know how to interpret it. They don't know what to do with this. And sometimes when you're with the group, you get a little bit embarrassed because you're crying and these tears are coming down, and but then you feel this joy and this strength that's uplifting you up. So that is something that pilgrims, when they go to the Holy Land, I love hearing the stories because they all come back with the story. But it happens in a different place. For some people, it is a nativity in Bethlehem at the Church of Nativity where Jesus was born. In some place, sometimes it's Holy Sepulchre, the tomb. But for a lot of people, it's the Sea of Galilee. Sailing on the boat, and just a lot of time you're reading the gospel, and then you're just imagining the Jesus being there, and that was the center of his ministry, and you just can't believe it. It's like, this is what I hear about when I go to church. This is what I've been reading about. This is what I've been taught, and here I am.
One of the things I think that makes Select International so very, very special is that you care deeply for the people in the Holy Land. It's not just going there and just shopping and supporting the folks there financially. I mean, there's a deeper love out for the people, for the land. And you have a wonderful program called Select to Give. Can you just tell us about that?
Yes, so Select to Give is a foundation. It's a charity that we started in 2014 after a trip that I had to the Holy Land, where it was just a chance meeting with a Christian woman in Bethlehem. And I was in the bathroom, and just like looking in the mirror, putting on lipstick, and this woman who was washing her hands next to me smiled, and she said, "Oh, you're American, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." "Oh, you speak English." And so we started chatting, and turns out that she was a Christian woman from Bethlehem, and we kind of hit it off. We had coffee the next day. As you know, Deacon, they're very hospitable people. They're very big hearts, very welcoming people. And through her, I met other women and just started learning more and more about the lives of the Christians of the Holy Land. And most of the Christians live in Nazareth and Bethlehem. And they kept saying to me, "You are so blessed to be living in America because you're a woman who has her own business, who is able to travel. You have so many choices." And I came home and I thought, the more I learned, the more I realized that I have to do something to help the Christians of the Holy Land, because their lives are very difficult. They are a minority there. There's a lot of discrimination against the Christians. Now, Select has always worked with Christian service providers, even before I founded Select to Give, our foundation, because I felt that was important. I felt it was important to employ Christian guides and drivers and stay whenever possible in Christian-owned hotels and eat in Christian-owned restaurants, because it was just a way to support the Christians of the Holy Land. But this just became now a mission. And the more I talked to people and the more I researched, I realized that um, in a country where Christianity was the majority of, majority of the people living in Israel and Palestine used to be Christians. Now it's only 2.5% of the population. And if we don't recognize that and collectively do something, we're going to be facing the Holy Land without any Christians living in there. And I thought, I can't allow that, because that to me is too important. But we're talking about, the source of our faith. We're talking about the land of our Lord Jesus Christ, and we're looking at a land where there's not going to be any Christians living there. That's just not something we should accept. So we all need to do whatever we can, and some people can do more and some people can do less. Certainly raising awareness about the plight of the Christians and the need to help the Christians of the Holy Land. And then also praying for the Christians of the Holy Land, keeping them in our prayers is so important. And you, Deacon, have been wonderful in your support of Select to Give and the Christians there. And I know you've said many times that, you and I have become friends because we're working together and we're getting to know each other better. But you have a huge heart for the Christians of the Holy Land. And you said that was very important when you take a pilgrimage and when you're taking people to the Holy Land, you wanted to work with Christian company and a company that made supporting the Christians their mission. And that was one of the reasons that you work with Select International Tours. So I'm very grateful to you for your commitment in supporting the Christians of the Holy Land. And I pray that more religious deacons and priests and nuns, when they travel, they recognize the need to work with Christian companies and companies. There are Christian companies who don't use Christian service providers. So that is something that we need to be aware of and insist on, because you're traveling to Israel, and the largest companies, travel companies there are Israeli companies, and that is fine. But for us who are Christian, we really need to support the Christian-owned companies. So that's a question always to ask when you're going on a pilgrimage to Holy Land. Are you working with a Christian company? Is my guide going to be Christian? Am I going to stay in Christian-owned hotels, eat in Christian-owned restaurants? Because that is a way we can all help. The other way we can help is by making a donation to, and there's several very good foundations. Select to Give, which is our foundation, is just one of them. And some people can donate $20 and some people can donate $200. Whatever they can give is really appreciated. We, as you know, we did a fundraiser last fall. You were very much involved in supporting that fundraiser. And we raised an $86,000, which was an incredible amount of money to be raised in one night. And most of that money was actually just given to Christian families for Christmas. Now, the families that we support, for instance, in Bethlehem, they mainly work in the travel industry, directly or indirectly. Now, they have not been working for more than a year. In Israel, even the Christians who live in Israel, Nazareth is in Israel, Jerusalem is in Israel, they have been helped. There is something like unemployment that we have in our country. So they have received help from the government. But the people living in Bethlehem, they have had no help from the government. There's no such thing as unemployment in Bethlehem. So these people basically could barely feed their families. And they're very proud people. So they're not the people that are going to come knocking on doors and say, hey, I need help. And we were able to give cash gifts to a lot of families, and to with some families we actually paid their electricity or paid their food bill in the supermarket. So the money went directly to the Christians. We don't have middlemen, we don't have any overhead. I don't have a staff that works for Select to Give that gets paid. My staff is voluntary. They're people who work at Select International Tours. So every cent goes directly to help the Christians. We also have a very large program where now we are paying for education of 100 Christian kids to remain in Catholic schools. Because if they don't go to Catholic schools, they go to Israeli schools, and then they're indoctrinated in the Jewish faith. And that is not what we want for Christian kids. We want them to have a good education and to be safe and to be taught about their faith. And that they can only do that if they go to Catholic schools. So we're supporting now over 100 kids going to Catholic schools. So if people want to find out more about Select to Give, we have a website called selecttogive.org. And they can go on the website and learn more and help in any way that they can. And I'm sorry to be going on about this, but it is something that I'm just really, really passionate about. And I'm also blessed to have wonderful partners and clients and staff who have, partially because of what we're doing and partially because they've seen it themselves on a pilgrimage to Holy Land. They have been very supportive. And again, I thank you for being one of those very supportive partners and clients.
Well, I'm definitely honored and blessed to be part of the Select International family. That's for sure. And I'm
Oh,
going to try to, let me see, I'm trying to see if I can share this screen. I've not tried to do this before. So if people can see that, this is the Select International website right here. And you can go to Select International's website and see all the wonderful things that they have going on here. This is for uh,
this is our
cruise line
cruise
select.
website. Actually, yeah, we also have pilgrimage cruises on European rivers, which is a product that is relatively new, but this is the main site, right?
This is the main site for Select International right here, and you can see right here that the picture is from the Church of the Resurrection there. So
Yes.
this is beautiful. So you can scroll down here and see all kinds of wonderful information. There's Edita, a little video introducing
Right.
Select
So,
International
yeah.
and all the different pilgrimages you can go on and experience here. This is wonderful. Here's some of the pilgrimage leaders. There's
There you
myself and Father Rico and
are.
Dr. D'Ambrosio, one of my professors from Graduate School, of Jeff Cavins, of course, and Christopher West. Father Larry Richards, good friend of mine. Hector Molina is like my brother from another mother. Jason Everett, Alexis. And these are some of the people that lead the tours here. So you can actually see for yourself. And then you can go to my pilgrimage website here, which I just got updated. And you can travel with me. I'd love to have you on pilgrimage with us. And so you can see here, this scrolls through different pictures of the Holy Land here, and then I have a personal invitation for people to travel with me with Select International Tours on pilgrimage. And there's a little article here about what it's like to travel with me and some photos. And this contemplative pilgrimage, we have a video about that. Just go back to Walk by Faith Wednesday webinars and click on the contemplative pilgrimage. It talks all about that. And here are brochures for the pilgrimages that I will be going on with Select International Tours beginning this October and November to Greece, the footsteps of St. Paul. So we're going to be promoting that very heavily. You can see we're going to Aberamagau and Poland next year, and also to the Holy Land and Aberamagau, and to France with Father Chris Alar. So some very great opportunities here. So I just wanted to show you guys this. But most importantly, here is the Select International site. So to
And
find out,
I just wanted to mention, your pilgrimages are very popular. And so if people are thinking pilgrimage, and if they're thinking about signing up for either this fall, you have a Greece trip, Footsteps of St. Paul, or next year, they really should think about signing up quickly. For instance, France is almost, well, not quite, but we're close to being sold out. So, and people are thinking, well, because it's COVID, we have time. But as I said, we're getting 40 to 60 registrations per week now. And so a lot of people are registering and signing up and planning for even a year in advance. So I would just encourage people to look at your website and look at our website and then make that decision. Because the trips, for instance, that you have to the Aberamagau Passion Play, one is Aberamagau and Holy Land, and the other one is Aberamagau and Eastern Europe. You have limited availability because we were able to get only a limited number of tickets. And once those tickets are sold out, because it is, the Passion Play is a play, like you go to a Broadway play or to a concert, we have to buy tickets a couple of years in advance. And once the tickets are sold out, we will not be able to get more space. We will not be able to get more tickets for the play. So it's important that people take a look and then decide and take action by registering. They can register on our website, or they can go to your website. But I just want to have that call to action, because pilgrimages are, as you mentioned, we have sold out pilgrimages for this fall already. And that's something we haven't seen in about a year and a half now. So, people are traveling, they're gearing up to get on planes and going internationally. And I think there's just huge amount of pent up demand, because we've all been home for, now 15 months. And so we're ready to go. I'm ready to go. I know you
Yeah,
are too.
I am too. Absolutely. And so, as you can see here, just go to selectinternationaltours.com. Again, that's selectinternationaltours.com. You can see all the wonderful trips that Edita has planned for you to, again, to really strengthen and deepen your intimacy with the Lord. That's what it's all about. Or if you want to travel specifically with me, you can go to my website, deaconharold.com. Just click on pilgrimages, and it gives you a wonderful overview of my pilgrimage ministry, which is going to be growing. And I'll talk about that in another video, how I see my future developing here. So Edita, so thank you so much. This has just been such a wonderful experience to be with you and to talk about Select International Tours and the meaning of pilgrimage and the wonderful support you're giving to the people in the Holy Land. And so once again, if people are interested, how can they get in touch with you and get in touch with Select?
Well, if people are interested in traveling on pilgrimage with you, they should go to your website and check out the pilgrimages that you have there. We will have your website. Your website is being constantly updated, so we are planning more pilgrimages for you in the next, 12 to 24 months. We're going to be having contemplative pilgrimages, which are something completely different. So people should just constantly go to the website. And you also have a lot of information that is non-pilgrimage related that is worth looking at in your website. And then also our website, which is selectinternationaltours.com, selecttogive.org, or cruisesbyselect.com, which is our cruise company. We started pilgrimage cruises about 3-4 years ago, and are doing very well with that because people love to cruise, especially on the European rivers, and not change hotels frequently. So if they want a more leisurely paced pilgrimage, then cruises is the way to go. And I keep saying to you, I want to get you on a pilgrimage cruise, Deacon. I think you would enjoy that. But you're full of energy, and Holy Land, I think, has right now has the #1 place in your heart. So, but also we're going to France next year, going to Greece later on this year, and then the Passion Play in Eastern Europe. So lots of choices for people. Most important is that people understand that pilgrimages are they're for people who want to go deeper into their faith. They're people who want to learn, become closer to the Lord. But they're also for people who understand that it's not just those 10 or 12 days that they spend on pilgrimage. Pilgrimages changes your life. It impacts your life for long term. And that is why it is so important that if you have the ability to travel, go on a pilgrimage. Now, vacations are important. We all need our downtime, but go on a pilgrimage. It's going to have a long-term impact on your life in so many ways, ways that you have never expected or experienced before. And I'm very grateful to you for your support and the work that you're doing. And I look forward to traveling with you on a pilgrimage soon also.
Well, thank you, Edita. I'm very much looking forward to being back at some of my favorite sites around the world. Yes, the Holy Land, of course, but Lourdes and Fatima and Poland and Abrahamagau and the Footsteps of St. Paul that we're doing this fall, and all the wonderful places. And this is only going to increase. This is going to become an increasing part of my ministry, of my work in the Lord's vineyard. As I discern the direction that the Lord has taken me post-COVID here, I definitely feel a strong pull, a strong attraction of the Holy Spirit to do more pilgrimages. And so we're definitely going to be working together a lot more moving forward. I'm looking forward to that. Well,
Yeah, me too.
Edita, thank you so much. It's wonderful because you're also located in my home state of New Jersey. So
That's
how can I not love Select International? You're my state of
That's
Jersey.
right. That's right. We invite you to visit us more. Absolutely. Would love to
Yeah.
see you here in New Jersey.
Well, thank you. And thank all of you for joining us for another exciting episode of Walk by Faith Wednesday webinars with Deacon Harold. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care, my friends, and may God bless you abundantly.
Thank you for watching Deacon Harold's Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar. Tune in next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for more.